Welcome to our video series on creating and using mini-sites. In this video, we'll look at creating a mini-site with a WYSIWYG editor. To start creating your own mini-sites the easy way, what you want to use is what's called a WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG, if you spell it, the letters stand for What You See is What You Get, which essentially means a visual web page editor. Okay, I have a web page here, the mozilla.org homepage, and in your browser, if you go View Source, View Page Source, basically to create a web page, you have to create HTML. That's the language name. HTML code. The HTML code defines how your page looks, and if you want, you can create your whole page just using text by typing the code in directly. However, to do that, you need to be familiar with the code, and it can take quite a while to get used to it. Obviously, it's slower than creating the web page visually, so that may be something you'll want to look into later. However, I'm going to largely talk you through how to create web pages and mini-sites visually using WYSIWYG editors. Very well-known WYSIWYG editors include Front Page by Microsoft and Dreamweaver by Macromedia Adobe. However, I'm basically going to talk you through this using an entirely free WYSIWYG editor. There are many web editors on the market, and if you go to download.com and search for web page editor or something along those lines, you'll find many. But a lot of them might have free trial periods of 30 days or something like that, but then you have to pay to continue using them beyond that point. But the editor I'm going to show you is powerful, and it's also entirely free at this time. Since it belongs to the Mozilla organization, they basically give everything away for free, so I don't think there's much chance that you'll ever have to pay for this editor. So it's a good one to download and learn and use. Okay, products. And what you want is the Mozilla Suite. And download the proper version for you. I would imagine that for most people, it's the Windows version. So after you've downloaded that, you need to start it up. Okay, I've started up the Mozilla browser, the browser from the Mozilla Suite that I downloaded and installed, and it's important to differentiate this browser from the smaller to download, but just as powerful, Mozilla Firefox. Mozilla Firefox is a web browser, and in the Mozilla Suite, you also get a web browser which is slightly different. And this is the one you want for getting the web page editor. Okay, back to the Mozilla browser. And I just want to mention now, I seem to be having a slight issue with some of these buttons for some reason. They've gone a bit, they don't seem to be appearing quite as they should. When you install your version, it will probably look quite a bit better. I'm not sure why the buttons are looking the way they do here. Hopefully I'll get this issue resolved, but we can ignore this for now. Anyway, what you want to do is go to Window and choose Composer. This used to be known as Netscape Composer, and now it's known as Mozilla Composer. Okay, this is how the Mozilla Composer looks. And again, we're having a slight issue with how the buttons look for some reason on my installation, but I'm sure it'll be fine on yours. We can ignore that for now, and actually what I can probably do is hide the buttons. Okay, if I click Composition Toolbar Off, the buttons disappear for now. Especially since this is free, this is a very powerful web page creator, web page editor. But that said, since this is done visually, if you're used to Microsoft Word, you should find this very easy. And even if you're not, you should find it quick and easy to pick up because it is very straightforward. In a nutshell, as a very brief overview, here's the main creation page, creation area, and you can type in some text here, and you can select it the same way you can in Microsoft Word, and also Microsoft Front Page and in Dreamweaver. And you can make it bold, underline it, make it italic, put it in the center, make it larger, and again, and again. So it's very easy to pick up because it's all done visually. That's how it looks while you're creating it. What you can also do in Composer is get a brief overview of the HTML code, which is used if you're interested in seeing that. It shows the code in a slightly unusual way here. Then, if you want to view the actual code, the full HTML code that's been created to make this page, click on HTML Source here, and that's the code if you're interested in looking at that. And you can even preview what it should look like in your browser. However, since this is a visual editor, the preview looks very similar to the normal editing view, as you can see. If you start looking through the menus, you can see that there are a lot of options here. You don't need to worry about all of them, but you should find many of them quite useful. So, Mozilla Composer is one of the quickest and easiest ways, and actually it's also great because it's a free way to start creating your own web pages, your own mini-sites focusing largely on the format and content side of things without having to worry about the HTML code or the technical side of things going on in the background, because most of that is done for you.